Hello and welcome to the fourth annual edition of the crossover episode of Top Dogs and the CT Scoreboard Podcast. My name is Rob Doster. That gentleman you see sitting next to me, Jared Kotler, coming to you live from the CT Scoreboard Studios, right? Is that where we are right now?
Yeah, we're right in the studio here in Connecticut. I'm working on fixing up the background, so we'll have something real there soon, hopefully. But for now, shameless plug for the podcast in the corner.
Hey, it's recognizable with the way you have it set up, man. So don't change it. Everyone knows what it's going to be whenever they see that background. So you got to figure it out. We do this every year, right around the middle of the season, to kind of give a lay of the land and get a feel for where UConn basketball is as we head into the meat of conference play, and we'll talk a little bit about how weird the schedule has been this year because of the way the Big East kind of looks this season. But I want to start with this, Jared. Just give me overall to date. We're about halfway through the season. We played 15 games of a 31 game schedule. Give this season a grade. Where are you at right now in terms of how well this year has gone? How confident you are moving forward? Give me a grade on
Yeah,
where you.
yeah. I mean, I'm overly optimistic, which I know sometimes annoys some people. I'd probably give them an A minus right now. I mean, it's hard for me to give anything less than an A to a team that's got one loss here in the first week of January. In some ways, it's almost like the grade could be an incomplete, given that you're really just starting to see this team healthy for the first time, really here again in January. I've liked what I've seen. I mean, the defense has stepped up in a major way from what you saw last year from this team, which seemed to be kind of the glaring issue with them last year. Offense, I think, has been pretty serviceable. I know you talked about it on your last episode, some of the ways they could kind of take that offense up a notch. But for the most part, I've been really satisfied with this team. I think there are some nitpicky areas you could get into if you really wanted with them. But overall, I think they've shown they could compete with the top teams in the country right now.
Yeah, the it's a weird spot to be in for UConn, right? Like
Yeah.
you're 14-1, you're four in the AP poll, you're top 10, top seven in all of the metrics, Ken Palm, Torvik, all that. The only loss that you have is to the number one team in the AP poll in Arizona, and that came by four without two of your starters. There's wins at Kansas, wins over Florida, BYU, Illinois, 4-0 in the Big East. But it still kind of feels like they haven't hit high gear yet. And there's lots of reasons for that, right? Like Braylon Mullins missed time, Silas Demery missed time in October and kind of getting ready for the start of the season when you're supposed to be learning what the offense is, right? Terrace Reed has played so few minutes this year that he's not eligible for the rankings on Ken Palm yet. He hasn't even played 40% of the minutes this season. Jaden Ross has missed time. So it feels like we're just waiting for this team to kind of click into what we've all been saying
Yeah.
they could be. At the same time, you're 15 games, you're 2 months into the season. At some point, it kind of feels like, well, how long are we waiting for this to happen? And maybe it's just a UConn fan thing. Maybe it's when the expectation is national championships. But when we're saying, yeah, I don't know if they've quite kicked into high gear when they're 14-1, and very clearly they're like a top five-ish kind of a team in America, that's you're picking nits a little bit, right?
Yeah, Rob, I'll give you like the biggest tell for me is when you watch these post-game press conferences with Dan, he seems pretty calm. Like Dan's a guy who wears it on his sleeve. And last year when they were going through their struggles, I mean, I'd say he made it pretty clear how he felt a lot of the time. But this year he seems to be kind of calm, if that's the right word to say in how he is. I mean, I know his team is 14-1, but at the same point, he's pretty calm, talking about how he still thinks this team can grow throughout the season. I think he knows that because they haven't had a chance to really play as a full team for a lot this season. So sometimes you kind of hit January and you start to see how much room for growth really is there with the team. But I think with this team, there probably actually is a decent amount of room for this team to grow to hit that next level, given just, I mean, what you mentioned about Terrace Reed and the amount of minutes, how he doesn't even qualify there. Like that's a big piece to this UConn offense. And I still think they're starting to mesh a little bit just from now actually getting some game minutes together as a group.
Yeah, you can kind of see it, right? Like there's flashes of Silas knocking down some of those threes,
Yeah.
and Solo's getting a little bit more aggressive coming off of those curls, and it doesn't feel like he's just trying to get as many threes up as he possibly can. It's you could see it coming, right? And I know my favorite stat is this is like the fun with small sample sizes stuff is to say Braylon Mullins is shooting 34% from three, right? Well, before yesterday, he was at 40%, and then he went 1 for 7. And since he's played like 6 games, having one off night, he's gonna go
Yeah.
4 for 8 on Wednesday against Providence and be back up to 40%. And we're all gonna have to be like, oh yeah, he's having a great year, right?
Yeah, I mean, yesterday against Marquette, I think was probably one of the first times that you look at those big three shooters in Solo, Alex, and Braylon, and they all kind of had off nights on the same night, which you hope you don't get often, but I think it's probably the first time you've seen that where all three of those guys have really been cold.
Yeah. I wonder if, and I don't know how you felt, but the start of the season was so exciting because of
Yeah,
how many big games there were, right? It felt like every week we had something to really look forward to, like a marquee national matchup that was going to be the headline, that was going to be the biggest game of the night, that was going to be maybe the biggest game of the week. UConn playing at Kansas.
yeah,
You get BYU in Boston. You get Illinois in Madison Square Garden the day after Thanksgiving, right? You play Florida at the Jimmy V. You have all of these massive, massive non-conference games, and usually that leads into Big East play, and you're like, all right, now the season
yeah,
has really started, man. And it's just been kind of like you play at DePaul, which is a snooze fest, and
yeah.
then you play Xavier on New Year's Eve, and that ends up being such a like. I remember I had it set up for the New Year's Eve party that we were going to. I had the mom of the house. I was like, listen, there's only one thing that I ask is to make sure that when I step in that door, Peacock is on the TV, right? And when I walked in the door, it was 21-6, and I'm like, well,
Yeah.
shit, like, what am I? I don't need to watch this now. So,
Yeah,
and then the Marquette, like Marquette, I hate that Marquette is terrible, but Marquette is so bad.
I
So
do too. Yeah.
it felt like such a letdown, and feeling that as a fan, you got to think that those players are kind of feeling that too. Like you had such the high and the rush of all these games, and now you're playing Big East games, and it's like, well, we got to go play Xavier and beat them by 30. Great, this is going to be not as much fun as those other games were.
No, I remember because I made the trip out to Kansas this year. So first time getting to go to Allen Fieldhouse and see what that was all about. And then going to the game 2 days later, I think it was against East Texas A&M, and you're like, what is this? And I'm like, if I'm feeling it, I can only imagine what the players are feeling. Like it's just human nature. And I know that they've got to play these games and still win them. But like I was sitting there yesterday watching Marquette, and I'm like, it's a quad four game. Like it's basically like they're playing East Texas A&M again. Like the expectation there, I think the line was 20 and a half it opened at or something for that game against Marquette yesterday, which was just so weird to me to see them in a position where they're a 20-point favorite over a team of that quality that you're used to. But the schedule has been just really weird. And I mean, I'm somewhat concerned about the rest of the Big East slate, given that I'm not sure if there's a game that UConn won't be favored in the rest of the way here, and by somewhat of decent margins. There are a couple games, I mean, I think that always can trip you up, but as you look at the schedule here, to me, it's pretty winnable, I think, as you look out the rest of the Big East schedule here.
Yeah, there's going to be a night or two where it's just one of those nights, right? Like
Oh, absolutely.
I find it hard to believe they go 20-0 in the Big East. Just, playing at
Agreed.
Seton
Yeah.
Hall that's the bugaboo game for Dan. Like he just whatever ghosts and that he still has in his closet are they exist there at the Prudential Center. At St. John's going to be tough. Villanova, I don't know if they win that game. Like those are three teams that actually match up well with them this year. I'd be willing to bet they'd lose one of those just because
Yeah.
it's one of those nights, right? But I think that's it for the real tests that they're going to get in this league. Like yeah, they're at Providence on Wednesday, and I just don't see it, right? Like the fans are going to be fired up. Providence has talent. I don't see that team being disciplined enough to be able to beat a UConn team that it's like death by a thousand cuts when you play them.
Yeah, and I think it actually the situational spot kind of lines up nicely for UConn, where Providence comes in maybe a little extra confident coming off the win over St. John's, and UConn, although they won by 16 yesterday, I think there are some nitpicky things that Dan will have, be
Yeah.
getting, yeah, we'll be getting on them for. So it's a UConn team that even though they won by 16, probably is acting these next couple days in practice like they won by two or lost that one. So I kind of like that spot for UConn on Wednesday going into Providence. Kind of a little bit fired up given the performance they had yesterday.
Do you think they're going to get tested enough in the Big East this year? It sounds so weird to say that, and I
It
hate
it
because
does.
I'm such a Big East homer, man. Like I love this conference, but do you think they're going to get tested enough in this
That
league to be able to make the run they need to make in March?
It's definitely a concern of mine, and I hope Dan has made the phone call to Mark Few to ask about what it's been like for him going through the WCC some of
Oh
these years.
no,
Where
no, you just did it. You did it. I've been trying not to make that comparison, man.
no, no, it's sad for me to even put those like in comparison. But I mean, the Big East is always going to give you some battles here, and I think they'll have a couple games here or there. But I definitely think it's a concern that as you think about it, and it's, I mean, I don't mean to talk down to any of these Big East teams, but they just haven't performed really at the level that you'd expect for a lot of them. I was hoping St. John's would be in a better place at this point. Um, I know Butler got off to the hot start. I know they've dealt with some injuries and stuff, but it seems like they've really kind of fallen off here. Creighton's taken a big step back this year. I thought Creighton was about to be back in what I thought might be the second or third best team in the Big East, but then they go and blow that big lead yesterday to Seton Hall. And Seton Hall, again, defensively is really good, but their offense scares me a little bit. I'm just a lot up in the air for a lot of these teams for me right now.
Yeah. The tests are going to be, I think, less against how good these teams are and more against what the matchup is. That's kind of
Yeah.
where I've settled, right? Like I have made peace with the fact that UConn on what is it next Tuesday is going to go into Newark and take a loss, right? Like because one, that's what they do every year that they go play at Seton Hall, and two, that the way that that team guards, the toughness and the physicality, and I see them giving them UConn all kinds of fits. Like that's what they need. They need someone that can exploit some of the issues that they have so that they can figure out how to be able to deal with that if they end up seeing a matchup like that in March.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I think if you look at the Big East right now, just from like a bracketology standpoint, like what's the outside of UConn, what's the next best seed you're getting for this league right now? Like a 7 or 8 seed? Like you're kind of looking at what you get in a second round matchup here, which it maybe the staff had some idea that the Big East might be in this bit of a downswing this year because they got their tests out early. I do wish that they kind of had like what Duke and Michigan are doing, where you get one of those non-conference marquee games in February here, and I hope, and it kind of sounds like that might be a thing going forward for a lot of these teams that maybe you get a game thrown in there in February, which I think would be helpful. But yeah, I agree with you. I think you're gonna look at some of the matchups and you know what, maybe they get into some situations here that do test them and it pays dividends. But to some extent, again, not having had the full team throughout a lot of those non-conference games, if you could use these games to really get some comfort and build that chemistry, I think that can go a long way in March, even if you're not playing in necessarily these tough battle-tested games that you expect in the Big
Well,
East.
that's the flip side, right? Like you want to spin zone this thing and you want to
Yeah.
be able to turn it looking forward. There are some variable things that UConn has to work out. And when I say work out, right, let's put this into context, Jared, right? UConn right now is about where Florida was last year at this exact same point in time. I went back and looked at it. And if you look at January 5th, 2025, Florida was ranked seventh in KenPom. They were the number three offense in America, and they were the number 37 defense in America, right? And they were able to flip that thing and turn themselves into one of the best defensive teams in the country because they figured it out with Elijah Martin and they figured it out with Will Richard, how to be able to guard with those guys. And everything kind of came together for them. And they looked like the best team in college basketball, one of the two or three best teams in college basketball. When you got to the Final Four, you could say they got a little bit lucky in the comebacks that they had in the Final Four of the title game, but they won the national title, right? And if you are UConn, you're kind of saying to yourself, okay, that's the path that we need to take. We got to figure out the turnover issues. We got to figure out the 3-point shooting thing going on with Solo Ball and Braylon Mullins. And once those two things happen, I think you see this team going from like top 30th, top 30-ish offensively
Yeah.
to top 10 again. And with the
Yeah.
way that they're guarding, and when you're playing these teams, this is when you can figure it out. When you're playing teams that are good enough to make you work, but aren't good enough to actually beat you. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of where we are with a lot of these matchups that you see in the Big East. So hopefully the spin zone, they're going to be able to work out their demons right now.
Yeah, and I think just from like a turnover situation you bring up, a lot of them to me seem kind of just like silly ones that are relatively easy to clean up. Like I think yesterday, I think Braylon had like 4 or 5 where he tried to just get it to Terrace down low and just not great entry passes. Those seem like things that are to me that are pretty easy to correct. So I'm not. super concerned. I mean, because I think they had what? I think 11 yesterday, and I want to say 4 or 5 of those were those kind of entry passes into Terrace. So again, yeah, give them the chance to work some of these out through Big East play. But I like the comparison there and see if they could get things going on the offensive side.
As you know by now, we have teamed up with BetMGM again this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we will have special offers for Field of 68 fans, including same-game parlays, best-in-class live betting, and daily odds boost. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD to get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. You download the BetMGM app, you sign up using bonus code FIELD, you deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use that bonus code FIELD when you sign up. Make this college basketball season one for the history books. Make it legendary. And don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. There is no sport in America that is more difficult to follow than college basketball. It can be overwhelming. That's where the Field of 68 Daily comes into play. The Daily is your go-to source for injury updates, recruiting news, and transfer portal additions that actually matter. For just $50 a year, get access to the same information that your favorite team's coaching staff is subscribed for. Quality content can be hard to find in the college basketball space. The Daily is here to help you with that. I got more stats for you, Jared. So
Let's hear them.
Their turnover rate in Big East play right now is 19.7, which is pretty comfortably the worst. They turn the ball over 1 every 5 possessions. In 22-23, their turnover rate in the league was 18.9, and the only team worse than them, they were 10th in the conference. The only team worse than them was Seton Hall. So they're not that far off of what that team was, and that team finished in offensive efficiency in the conference. They were 3rd, and overall nationally, they ended up, once you kind of put everything together with the run of the tournament, they were 3rd nationally in offensive rating. So you're able to be a good team, even with some turnover issues, but that's going to come with being able to be a little bit more efficient, making threes, being a little better on the offensive glass. And I don't think this team's ever going to be able to get to the foul line all that often. They're just not built that way. But if you could find a way to get to the line just a little bit more, this is the way I think about it, right? You had 15 turnovers against DePaul, 15 against Xavier, 14 against Butler. You had 11 against Marquette. Just make it be that 11 against Marquette. You clean up 2 or 3 of those. Those are 2 or 3 extra shots that you're getting. You're scoring like 1.5 per possession. You get Solo making 40% of his threes instead of 30% of his threes. That's another like 2 to 3 points per game that you're getting added there. So all of a sudden you go from being what you are to getting 5 or 6 more points a game. That's a significant difference when it comes to what you're putting up in your efficiency. Does that make sense?
No, I think that makes perfect sense. Yeah, no, I like it. So let's see that play through here over the next couple weeks here.
All right, let's talk about some of these players individually. I think the big one that everyone is kind of asked me about is Silas Demery. Where are you at with Silas Demery? Is he getting ready to turn the corner here? Is those threes that he hit yesterday just false hope? Where do you stand on Silas and kind of the year that he's had so far?
Yeah, I'm a big Silas fan. I think UConn needed that big guard, and he's provided what a big guard can do for UConn, especially on the defensive side of things. I know Dan's credited him a ton for turning around this defense from last year to this year. So I know that the offensive numbers might not have been what people were expecting when you saw what he was doing down to Georgia last year, but I've always had faith in him being a really solid player for this UConn team, and you're starting to see the shots go in a little bit more. I mean, you saw what he was able to do in that game against BYU when he basically won them that game. So it's not like he was going to go and never score again, which is what some people might have thought was going to happen just based on some of the reactions. I mean, I think in one of those games, I don't think he scored much, but I think he had an 11 assist game. Like the numbers were there. You could tell that he was just kind of maybe in his own head a little bit, trying to really break down it and become the UConn point guard that people are expecting. There's high expectations here for the point guard at UConn. I think probably one of the tougher positions in terms of expectations in college basketball. When you look down the list of guards here, and I mean, the storyline kind of lined up nicely with what Tristan had done. So you were always going to get those comparisons, which aren't easy uh, to do. But I think what I've seen from him, I've been impressed. We've seen that he can score, and it looks like that's starting to come a little bit because I think he hit one or two threes against Xavier too. So I think that's coming. I know the foul trouble's been a bit of a sticking point here. So they need him to stay on the court. So I think that's probably my biggest concern with his game right now. But I really like what I see from Silas.
Last 5 games, he's had at least 3 fouls in all 5 of
Yeah.
those games. Against Florida, he only played 20 minutes because he had 2 fouls in the first 4 minutes. The foul trouble thing is something that he really does have to figure out. It's a tough balance, right? Because you want him to be aggressive. Like he
Yeah.
really is such a difference maker at the point of attack. Like there's a way that he moves. His hands are so strong when someone tries to drive by him. He's so disruptive on the ball. But when you're disruptive, you're gonna naturally
Yeah.
kind of pick up fouls, right? So he's 5 for 9 from three in Big East play. He has the best assist rate in the conference. He has a top 25 assist rate nationally, and I mean, I fully believe that he is on the verge of turning the corner and turning into a guy that's gonna. He's at what is it like 9 points, 5 boards, 6 assists or something right now. I
Yeah.
fully believe that like down the stretch of the season, it's going to be closer to he's averaging 14 points, 5 boards, and 6 assists. And if we get that Silas over the course of the next 2 months, that's that's how you be
Yeah.
good enough to make it back to the Final Four. What about Solo? Solo's the
Yeah.
really interesting one because I the shot looks the same. He stopped hunting those fouls
Yeah.
on threes where he was trying to get to the free throw line. Um, the makes aren't as or the misses aren't as bad as they were at the start of the like there were a bunch at the start of the season where like he's shooting air balls or it's getting stuck in the wedge between the rim and the backboard or it's hitting the backboard first. And now his misses are it sounds weird to say that good misses,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? But he's still shooting 29 points. The solo ball is shooting 29.7% from three.
Yeah. No, I have to think it's gonna it can only go up. At least that's my
You'd
hope.
hope so, right? You'd hope so.
But no, I mean, I think Sol's an interesting guy. I mean, I clearly there's been a concerted effort to work with him on being able to drive to the basket a little bit more because
Mhm.
his ability to break someone down and just drive to the basket has been really phenomenal, I think, this year. He's loving that mid-range shot, and I know some people hate that shot in today's basketball, but if he's gonna knock him down at a consistent rate like it seems like he's been doing, then I guess all for it. But I have to think that especially now as the spacing should hopefully get a little bit better. Having Braylon out there, having Alex, I think I'd like to think that the threes are going to start to fall a little bit more for him.
Yeah, it's I mean when he's making free throws and he's making those pull-up jumpers and the stroke doesn't look like it's messed up. I mean, he's you got to figure it's either between the ears or he's just in a little bit of a bad run and the regression is going to be
And
coming in at
I don't
some
have
point.
yeah, I don't have the number offhand, but like in spite of shooting 29% for three, what he's probably still averaging 15 points a game, like somewhere around there, 13, 14 points a game. Like it's not bad.
Yep. I'm looking at it right now. So as a mid-range shooter, he is or as a shooter this year and all like an off the dribble shooter, he
Yeah.
ranks in the 94th percentile in terms of points per shot. And when it comes to mid-range shots, he ranks in the 80th percentile nationally, which is, pretty good. Like that's
Yeah.
it might be the most inefficient shot in basketball, but he's pretty efficient at making sure that he knocks them down. So yeah, I'm not worried about him really at all. I don't think I'm worried about Brett. I don't think there's really anyone else where you kind of look at him and say, hey, I don't know why he's not playing the way that he should be.
Yeah.
Maybe Terrace a little bit, but I give Terrace some grace dealing with the injuries that he's kind of fought through. Biggest question I have is Alex Caravan right now the Big East Player of the Year?
I think so. I mean, what he's done in throwing the intangibles there too with what he does as being the kind of the leader of this team. But you see, he's just performed and stepped up his game tremendously from last year. I know last year the numbers were down a little bit. He never seemed to get down on himself, and you could tell this year he bet on himself to really bounce back nicely, and you're seeing that. I think it really helps him too, having some other guys around him who are able to do so much. I mean, you're seeing him dish out the ball a lot this year, having some nice assist numbers. But Alex just seems to be everywhere, doing a little bit of everything. And when they've needed that big shot this year, it seems like they've been able to go to him, and he's been able to hit it. He's also had some nice shots, I think, at the end of the shot clock. If you look at a few games this year where things kind of broken down, he's been able to make something when it looks like nothing's about to happen there.
Yeah, he's last year it felt like every big shot that he took did not go in.
Yeah.
And this year, like whenever you kind of say to yourself, like, ooh, that's a big one. Ooh, UConn needs that one.
Yeah,
And
it's
Alex is
right.
shooting it, like he's made it. There's been four or five where he loves that kind of comes in transition and he's kind of floating there to the wing and he's shooting it
Yeah.
from about 28 feet. And you're like, man, well, like, why don't you just take a step in? Oh, yeah, he made that. He's hit like four or five of those in really, really big moments in transition this year. And I don't think he made a single one of those last year. He probably did, but I just it felt like he was so in his head. He's definitely a different player. The only thing I'll push back on him being Big East Player of the Year is like I know St. John's isn't that good, but
But
Zuby's
Zuby,
averaging 16
yeah.
points, 8 boards, 3 assists, 2.5 blocks, and 1.5 steals on like super high efficiency. Like that dude is having
No,
a
I mean,
ridiculous season, man.
I think if you're looking at the Big East Player of the Year race, it's down to those two, and I
Yes.
guess just see how these two teams kind of finish things out a little bit too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I guess they gave it to Devin and Providence when they didn't have the best year, but
That one was so clear though. Like
yeah,
the other hard part is going to end up being UConn is so balanced
yeah,
that there's it's not often that Alex is going to be the best player on the floor for a given night.
right,
And I just don't when it comes down to the voting for these things, like you got to have loud games. You know what I mean? And the
yeah,
guys that are going to have there was a loud game for Silas Demery earlier this year, and we've had loud games from solo ball, and Alex just doesn't have like what he does is kind of it makes everything work together, and he lifts like the what is it? The rising tide lifts all ships.
yeah.
I don't think people that vote for these things will see enough what he's going to do. And it's very easy to say, oh, Solo had 26 in this game. I remember him hitting these 7 threes, and I remember Silas Demery going for 21 and 7 in this game. And that's I don't know, it's hard
I,
to kind of bust through that.
yeah, I will say it would be fitting though for him to get it this year after he got screwed out of the Freshman of the Year award to Cam Whitmore when we all know he should have won that one. So
Yes, he should have. Cam Whitmore, man. That's it's wild that Alex Caravan was playing at the same time as Cam
yeah,
Whitmore. It feels like Cam Whitmore was in the Big East a decade ago.
yeah.
What else you got, man?
Yeah, I guess I'll throw this one to you because, and I think this is a tough one because as you're thinking about these guys, and you said they spread things out so much, who's your MVP of the team at this point?
I mean, I think that the guy that is the most indispensable player on the roster to me is Alex,
Yeah,
and that's because there isn't really another player that can do the things that he does at the four, right? And I think that the leadership, there's a lot of stuff that he does that is never going to show up in a box score. The intangibles,
definitely.
the setting the tone, the kind of quiet confidence that he has. But for me, it's when you look at the rest of college basketball, at the Michigans of the world, at the Arizonas of the world, at the Floridas of the world, everybody's playing like two or three bigs. Everyone is really leaning into this idea of bigger lineups. And a lot of that has to do with like one of the in vogue plays is this like three across set where you have three guys on the baseline and a big guy under the rim and another big guy setting a screen.
Mhm.
So you're able to create space while playing two big guys together. And to me, Alex is the guy that can nullify that because he is going to force you to make a decision on, all right, we're going to play big, but we're going to have one of our big guys have to chase Alex Caravan off of all these screens. And then on the defensive end, I think he's big enough and strong enough to be able to hold his own in those matchups against a lot of those big guys. I don't think he's not going to outperform Yaxel Lendenberg on the defensive. Like he's not going to win that matchup, but he's going to keep you in it enough where you're going to have to make a decision as an opponent on the other end of the floor. And there's nobody else on the team that can force other teams to make that decision. And I don't know if there's anybody else in the country that can force other teams to have to make a decision like that in terms of how they want to guard UConn. So I think simply by the byproduct of only being the only real guy in that position and all of the stuff that he can do, when you look at these other teams, like it's got to be him.
Yeah. No, I agree wholeheartedly with you. And then I guess I'll throw this one you because we haven't talked about these guys at all. But I think one of the big positives for UConn this year, and one thing that I think can really help them go far in March is their depth. How
Yes.
big do you think that is? Because I mean, you're seeing guys like, I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of teams in the country right now where Jalen Stewart would be a starter for them on some good teams. You're seeing guys like him come off the bench. Malachi Smith has been pretty good coming off the bench. Jaden Ross, obviously. Eric, I mean, we didn't even mention Eric Riba, who, as a freshman, who I think is really impressed. Just give me your thoughts a little bit on the depth.
It's critical, man. Like we talked about the injuries that they've dealt with, and it
Yeah.
hasn't bothered them because we don't have Terrace Reed in here. Yeah, you know what? Eric Riba is he's a friggin' monster,
Yeah.
right? Oh, Silas Demery's in foul trouble and isn't playing well. Yeah, you know what? In the guard, Malachi Smith is going to go get you 14 and 11 to help you beat a top 10 team,
Yeah.
right? The fact that they've been able to withstand these injuries is because of the depth that they had, and I said this the other day, but guys like Jalen Stewart and Jaden Ross should be the guys that are celebrated
Yeah,
because they are
definitely.
what college basketball is supposed to be about, man. Like these dudes, I promise you that Jalen Stewart, if he had put his name in the portal, would have
Oh,
been able to go make more money elsewhere.
definitely.
And it would have been a better long-term financial decision for him. Because let's just say, like, I don't know, he transfers to Washington State,
Yeah.
right? Just argument's sake, back to the West Coast, transfers to Washington State, playing in a really good conference where he's going to be able to make some money. It averages like 15 a game. Then all of a sudden, you're a guy that averages 15 a game at a program like that. You go up to the next level and you can kind of say you put your name in the portal again, and it's like, oh, look, he's a 15 point, he's a go-to
Yeah.
guy. One of you top 20 teams that needs a go-to scorer, go bring Jalen Stewart in, and then you'll be able to make even more and probably double what you were making off of that. So he sacrificed pretty significantly financially to stay with this program and come back and just do a job, be a junkyard dog. And there's been 2 or 3 games this year that they have won because of the just the
Yeah.
effort and the glue guy stuff that he does. And I remember when he came in, like that was kind of the knock on him. Like he wasn't a great defender, wasn't a great rebounder, was kind of the score that you brought. Like he's been unbelievable. Jaden Ross too. Those guys need to be celebrated, man. Like
Yeah.
the sacrifices that they make. That's what college basketball used to be about. And I think that's with the portal coming in. Don't get me wrong, Jared. I love how good college basketball is nationally right now. I love
Yeah.
the storylines. It's the best I've ever in terms of the product on the court. It's the best I've ever seen. I've been doing this for 16 years. But it's the guys that stay with a program that develop over time, that sacrifice, that the fan base can get behind and feel like they know, right? Like
Definitely.
you've seen them grow. You see Jalen's parents at all the games. Like they're active on social media. It's those are the guys that make you love this sport and make you kind of say, I can't wait to see him thrive. Like he's going to have
Right.
a big moment in March and it's going to be the greatest thing ever because that dude sacrificed. Same thing with Jaden. They sacrificed. They came here. Malachi Smith might be the best dollar for dollar transfer
Yeah.
portal edition that anyone could find. There are 350 programs in America that need him to start for at point for him, and he's coming off
Yeah.
the bench for UConn.
No, I mean, to me, you think like in this era of basketball, I mean, Jalen Stewart with Braylon Hurt, he's getting all those starter minutes. Braylon's back, like it's not like Jalen did anything wrong to lose a
Mhm.
spot in the starting rotation. How many of those guys are just saying peace? Like I'm out. Like I'm done with this.
Oh, you're recruiting a freshman over me?
Yeah, yeah.
Fuck you. I'm out of here.
Time to bounce. Yeah. So I think what you said there is what I always loved about college basketball and getting to watch guys develop. And I think with Jalen and Jaden in particular, you're just seeing that in front of your eyes. And even a guy like Eric, seeing where he was his first game when he had to start against New Haven to where
Mhm.
he is right now. I mean, it's like a completely different player out there. So all says good things about the development of
He
the of this
picked it
coaching
up.
staff.
Ryba picked it up so much quicker than I expected him to.
Same.
Right,
Yeah.
like he did not have a great senior year when he was playing for what was it for Bullis, right down there in,
Mhm.
in DC. He did not have a great senior year, or necessarily what people expected out of a guy that ended up being a McDonald's All American. But he went to the U19s and he was really, really good out there. And you can just kind of see him. I don't know if that was just a result of like he committed and it was just high school basketball is whatever.
Yeah.
But once he kind of got into the U19s, into the national team setup, and then he got to UConn, like he's been on like it's been going up like this
Yeah.
to the point where I hope they limited his minutes enough so that we get him another year, right? Like I want to see sophomore Ryba instead of seeing him off to the NBA. So he could pass it, man. He could
Yeah.
shoot it. He's going to be really, really damn good. And
Yeah.
I remember I think it was you that was talking about this. Might not have been you. Maybe it was Zach, but how Ryba could end up being the guy that comes in and plays the bench, and then the second season you get an impact like Donovan Clingan,
Yeah,
right? He's a little bit of a different player. Like he's not the rim protector. What he does is different than what Donovan does, but he could,
definitely.
if he comes back for a sophomore year, and I hope he does,
Yeah.
like we could be talking about like a All American kind of an impact. And I did not see that coming with the way that he played as a senior.
Yeah, no, I've been fascinated with his rise this year. So it's been one of the kind of like the under the radar storylines, I think, when you think about this team right now.
Yeah, 100%, man. All right, I'll leave you with this. Give me your prediction. What is going to happen towards the end of the year? Is this a Final Four caliber team? Are they going to figure it out? These shots going to start going down? Are you just going to be a happy clapper that's sitting there saying nothing but positive things about UConn?
Yo, you know me, Rob. I was clapping even after they went 0-3 in Maui last year, still trying to find a way to look for something positive. But no, I mean I think this team is legit. I mean I think it's perfectly acceptable to put them in that top tier right now. I mean it does scare me when you see what Michigan's done out there, and it's what ranked against USC the other day, or playing against a ranked USC team, and they just demolished them. It reminds me of what we were doing a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
So I do think though that as this season goes along, that this UConn team will start to figure things out a little bit more as they just get more time playing together, get some more reps. Because what they've shown with what they've been able to do to this point, I've been pretty impressed with. So I think it'll come. I think sometimes people have some expectations of the team a couple years ago that beat everybody by 30, and it's hard to then get those out of your head when they only win by 12 against a mediocre Xavier team or something like that, if that's what happens. But I think this team has the pieces to go on a deep run towards March. So I'm confident. I'll be clapping all the way. But I think the clapping's warranted this year.
Yes, it's very warranted. The only reason why I'm going to say I don't think they can win a national championship is because I think that we're going to look up in April and we're going to say that Michigan team was historically good
Yeah.
for college basketball. But I think that this UConn team, once you get to March, is going to be as good, if not better, than what we saw in 2023. And I don't know if they'll be as good as the 2024 team, but I
That's
think that
hard to
they'll
do. Yeah.
be like approaching, getting close to that level. Good enough to win a national championship in a normal year. I just don't think this is going to be a normal year. Maybe I'm blinded by some blowout wins. Maybe this is just a Michigan team that can run everybody off the floor. But if you look at what they're doing and look at some of the numbers, that it's unprecedented, the start that they've had to the season, and I don't
Yeah.
see it slowing down, man. I think that is a train off the track. So
No, I think when you take Michigan out of the equation, I think this UConn team's as good as anybody in the country
yes,
right now. Which is why I tend to be a bit optimistic. I mean, you know how this tournament works. The team that runs through the regular season, all it takes is one bad game, and
you need
and,
one night,
and,
man.
and they're out. But it doesn't look like Michigan has that in them right now. But
Hey, Jared, give me one night in Indianapolis where Solo Ball goes 7 for 9
yeah,
from three and Braylon Mullins goes 5 for 7 from three, and Michigan won't know what hit him.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. So
We can all hope, man. Listen, it's great to catch up with you, man. I'm glad you're doing well.
yes, you too.
And I look, we got it's not going to be the greatest games in the history of the Big East. It's not the most exciting season in the history of the Big East, but this is still a chance to be able to have some good road environments,
Definitely.
and it's still the Big East, man. It's still the Big East basketball. It's still the Big East tournament we're going to get in the Garden. So great to
It
see
is.
you. Best of luck this season, man.
Yeah, you too. Enjoy it.